Now, this brings us to multiple questions, and right now, what we're looking at the scenario right now, is a peace deal possible without Ukraine and European Union being on board? Is there merit in the US and Russia talking about building bridges first, settling ground rules, and then Ukraine and EU are taken on board? And what kind of security guarantees can be given to Ukraine to prevent further Russian aggression? Will Ukraine be willing to cede territory that's already lost to Russia? Will Ukraine agree to a mineral extraction contract with the US as compensation for all the aid provided so far or loans given so far? Can Europe contain Russia with reduced US role in NATO? And is non-entry into NATO acceptable to Ukraine? There are multiple questions that we are seeking answers to. I have Professor Brahmachalani, who joins me on this broadcast. He's a former advisor to India's National Security Council. I also have with me Yulia Klemenko. Yulia Klemenko is a member of parliament, and she joins me live from Ukraine on this big story. And Yulia Klemenko, I want to come to you first, and I want to understand from you, what do you make of peace talks that are happening? You heard the French President Emmanuel Macron talk about peace on the horizon. Do you think it's on the horizon?
Hello, thank you first of all for hosting me and having a say. We hear a lot of messages and a lot of reactions for past several months. I would like to remind you that first message from US and Donald Trump was to finish the war in 24 hours, then it's 100 days. Now we're talking about few weeks. I think it's still far from reality, and I think as more U.S. side and U.S. negotiators talking to Ukraine and Russia, more details they understand how difficult it is to bring peace after all these atrocities Russia done on Ukrainian territories, killing civilians, thousands of civilians, thousands of military people, and doing all war crimes.
But so, since Ukraine you mentioned territory,
peace,
Ms. Klemenko, since you mentioned territory, I want to ask you, there is some conversation that the territory that's already in control of Russia, and this is apart from Donetsk and Luhansk, territories that it already held, or a major part of Donetsk and Luhansk provinces that it already held, Zaporozhye and Kherson. Is Ukraine willing to cede control of these territories to Russia in lieu of peace?
No, Ukraine will not do any concessions because, first of all, it's prohibited by Ukrainian constitution. So it's impossible to do legally, and it's impossible to do, and there is no will of Ukrainians to do it. So I don't think it's feasible. These territories will be occupied, state occupied by Russia, and Ukraine will not recognize it as Russian territory. So I don't see any possibility, first of all, legal possibility, how to do it and how to change constitution, because it's prohibited to change constitution in Ukraine during the martial law. So we have martial law because we have war, and it's impossible to change. It's prohibited to change constitution during the martial law. So it's actually a dead end, and this is not possible neither legally nor morally, and Ukrainians will not approve it.
There is some conversation, the Americans are saying, we've had a indication from Marco Rubio saying that concessions have to be made by both sides. Russia will have to make some concessions and Ukraine will have to make some concessions. Am I to understand that Ukraine is willing to concede that it will no longer seek joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in case America were to provide adequate security guarantees that Russia will not move forward?
First of all, I would like to remind you that we are Ukraine keeping part of Russian territory. It's Kursk region.
Yes.
So, and we are talking about the exchange of Russian territories on Ukrainian territories. That's what we can discuss. But with the NATO, we don't understand this message from Trump and other allies. We would like to understand what is security guarantees for Ukraine we have. because we see NATO not as a NATO as alliance, as a security guarantee, sustainable security guarantee for Ukraine. If there is any options on the table, we would like to see what these kind of options we have, because at this point of time, everybody talking about peace deal, but nobody talking about security guarantees. And we understand that further, sooner or later, Russia will start another invasion, because I would like to remind again that we have a war for 11 years, starting in 2014. And everybody, all international partners told us, don't fight with Russia. They will not move further. Let's stay on with these, so to say, concessions. And we trust our international partners. And in 8 years, we had a full-scale invasion. So we do not believe in any words. We want to have real security guarantees, and we see NATO as a security guarantee.